Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Something that I've been thinking about lately regarding Cartoon Network is their brand image. Cartoon Network arguably throughout the 2000s and early 2010s had the strongest brand image when it came to the big children's animated networks, the big cartoon channels, right? Because really the big three were Cartoon Network, Disney XD, and Nickelodeon. Those were the big three when it came to kids animation. And I feel like between the three of them throughout the 2000s and early 2010s, Cartoon Network had the strongest library of shows. It had some of the best creators in the industry, and it's just a shame to see how we've fallen since then, how Cartoon Network went from being the world-renowned animation studio, Cartoon Network Studios, to now being just a shell of its former self. So today in this video, I want to discuss with you guys how Cartoon Network has really hurt their brand image over the years. So just a personal story real quick regarding this. So when I was growing up watching Cartoon Network, and even when I started getting older, I still watched the channel and watch the shows that were premiering. There was a point in time where I would say probably in the early to mid 2010s, whenever Cartoon Network would premiere a series, I would instantly say, okay, I'm going to watch it just to check it out because it's being made by Cartoon Network Studios. Like, that's how highly I regarded Cartoon Network Studios, where no matter what the project was, I would check out the first episode or the first two episodes just to see what it was about because I wanted to give it a chance. Fast forward now, we're in the early 2020s approaching the mid 2020s, and I don't feel that way about the network anymore. I hear about a new series coming from Cartoon Network Studios. I will check out, what it's going to be about. I'll look at the synopsis. I'll look at some imagery for it if there's any promotional images and whatnot. If there's a trailer, maybe I'll check that out too. But at that point, if it's not interesting to me, I won't check it out because I feel like back in the day, even if a show wasn't of intrigue to me, I knew that there was going to be a certain level of quality there, right? I knew that the Cartoon Network Studios had a certain quality that they would output from their shows. Not to say that we never got some clunkers in there from Cartoon Network Studios, because I'm thinking of shows like Secret Mounted for Awesome or The Problem Solvers. Those were rather strange shows back in the day that I was not a fan of, but I still gave them a chance because they were being made by Cartoon Network Studios. But if you look at the network today, I just don't feel that way about it anymore. If I see a show coming from Cartoon Network Studios and I'm not interested in it, I'm not going to check it out just because they're not that same brand that they were 10 years ago. And I am not the only person that feels this way. I know a lot of people who feel this way about Cartoon Network. I've seen the discourse online regarding it. I've seen people talking amongst each other in the comment sections on videos that Cartoon Network just hasn't been the same over the past decade. They've really hurt their brand tremendously. And quite frankly, I really don't know how they're going to recover from this. That's the biggest issue that I've been thinking of, is how do you go back to what you were back in the day? How do you go back to how you were viewed 10 to 20 years ago? I don't know if they're ever going to get back to that point. It's kind of hard to say with any company this doesn't just go for Cartoon Network. For any company, it's kind of hard to be like, when are they going to be like how they were 20 years ago, right? Because it's kind of hard to compare someone to their old self. Like the example I'm thinking of is with Pokemon, right? Some people regard the Pokemon games that came out on the Game Boy Advance and like the DS as the peak of Pokemon. And a lot of people say, oh, when are they going to get back to doing what they did 20 years ago or 10, 15 years ago? And it's like, they're not going to, because they've moved on from that point in time. So I understand that Cartoon Network's not going to do what they did 20 years ago. They're not going to be able to have that same level of shows just because of the way the industry is as a whole right now. But at the same time, it's like, how do you start to recover from where you are now? The biggest thing that would help you recover is if you're a well-regarded brand that has a good reputation within the industry. And unfortunately, when it comes to Cartoon Network right now, they do not have a good reputation within the industry. They have canceled so many shows. They fire so many creators. They've used so many series as tax write-offs that if you're a new creator, why would you want to work for Cartoon Network or whatever the Discovery when maybe you could work for like Disney or Paramount Global instead? Like, there are other options out there as opposed to Warner Brothers Discovery. And it's just really a shame. And one thing I do want to touch on is, how did this all happen? How did we get here? What ended up happening is, and we talked about this recently in another video about Maxwell Adams, the creator of The Great Adventures of Billy and Mandy, talking about when Cartoon Network quote unquote officially died. And I'll leave a card above to that video if you haven't seen it. But essentially, he thinks it died in the late 2000s. And at this point in time is when a lot of creators were leaving the channel. And the reason for this is because this is the time when Stu Snyder took over. This is the time when a lot of shows were being canceled. He was kind of shaping Cartoon Network according to his own vision. Obviously, live action had a part in that. Stu Snyder's known as the live action guy for Cartoon Network, even though I think that if you look at the lineup of series on the animated side of things that we had during Stu Snyder's reign as president of Cartoon Network, it's some of the best shows we've ever had on the channel, quite frankly, and some of my favorites. We had the Looney Tunes show, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, Adventure Time, regular show, Amazing World of Gumball, Steven Universe. Those all came out when Stu was president president of Cartoon Network. But nevertheless, after he left, after he got fired from Warner Brothers at the time, when they brought in Christina Miller, that's the point at which things started to go really downhill. And look, I know Christina Miller gets a lot of hate, and I've definitely given her my fair share over the years, but the issue with her, I remember when Christina Miller took over, I saw a video of her, I forgot where it was from, but it was an interview with someone, and she basically was saying how like digital's the future. We need to really start to focus more on digital. We really need to bolster our Cartoon Network app. And if you guys remember, a lot of series at that point in time were starting to premiere their new episodes on the Cartoon Network app first, premiering on the channel second. And while I'm not a fan of any of that, and that's all not a strategy that I'm too keen on, but that's not where the network died with Christina Miller. The network died with Christina Miller when she started to just completely take every action series off the channel and only greenlit comedies going forward. Because if you look at the shows that came out when she was the president of Cartoon Network, the majority of which were comedies. Yes, there were some other ones out there that were strictly comedies, but that's what we got for the most part. Then Tom Ashton comes in, right? He's going to fix things at Cartoon Network. He's going to make it a rival to Disney, which I don't think would have gone over all that well. And things started to get a little bit better. Things were looking promising for the network. Then he gets fired because of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger, and now Michael Olean's in charge. And quite frankly, I don't blame Michael Olean for anything that's going on with Cartoon Network, because essentially he was given a house that was burning down without getting any water to put out the fire. Essentially what I mean by that is he was given a mess that Tom Ashton was trying to fix. They canceled everything Tom Ashton was doing, and Warner Bros. Discovery hasn't given him the resources to fix Cartoon Network. Like, he really has his hands tied behind his back, because the company at large, Warner Bros. Discovery, they control where the financial flow goes, right? If they're not investing into Cartoon Network, if they're not giving Michael Olean money to make new series, then how is he going to make new series? That's the reason why we're seeing a lot of reboots and revivals, because those are the shows that are most likely to succeed. The new regular show or Adventure Time is more likely to succeed than a brand new IP would, which is why that's all we're seeing from Cartoon Network right now. And it's not Michael Olean's fault. It's just that that's what the network is giving him the money to do. That's what Warner Bros. Discovery is allowing him to do. And where they've hurt their brand image even more is with how they've treated the creatives who have worked at the company. And this is not Cartoon Network's fault inherently. This is more so an issue with Warner Bros. Discovery and all the tax write-offs they've been doing. They're trying to get out of debt, but they're doing it without thinking about the little man. They're doing it without thinking about their employees. They just want to get out of debt as quickly as they can without thinking about all the people they're affecting and how they're affecting the industry as a whole. And just when you do so much bad within a company, when you make a bad name for yourself, how do you then recover from that? And I think that's where the lack of foresight has come with Warner Brothers Discovery with David Zaslav. It's like, okay, we're going to do all of these controversial things now to try to save our brand so we don't go bankrupt. But okay, once you save yourself from bankruptcy, how are you going to continue if everyone hates you? How are you going to continue if no one wants to go work for you? And that's where we're at right now. And again, I really don't know how this all gets better going forward. It's really a sad reality of Cartoon Network Studios as we know it. It is gone. It is dead. I don't know if it will ever come back. I don't know if we'll ever get the same level of output of shows that we used to get. I don't know if we'll ever get the same quality of shows that we used to get. For now, it's just a complete and utter mess. And I really just wish that we'd get some clarity as to the direction of Cartoon Network. I understand that they're focusing more on Adult Swim going forward, which I don't necessarily think is all that bad of a move. Even though the shows are releasing on Adult Swim, they're essentially releasing on Cartoon Network, because Cartoon Network is an extension of Adult Swim. They're all on the same channel, right? It's just there are different blocks during different hours of the day. My Adventures with Superman, just because it's an Adult Swim series, you could still watch it as a 10-year-old kid. It's not that adult that it's like, oh, it's taboo for a 10-year-old to watch. No, you could watch it too. It's just that they're branding it towards older audiences because they know that older audiences are watching Cartoon Network more so than the younger audiences. If you look at the numbers, the ratings of the network, a lot of people above the age of 18 are watching once it becomes like 4 or 5 o'clock. That's where their money is right now. That's where their audience is right now. And they are very well aware of that, which is why, it is a bit promising what we could be getting going forward from them. But at the same time, it's like there's so much network meddling. There's not a ton of shows getting greenlit. They're not talking about the shows that were greenlit. Like, when was the last time we heard about the new Powerpuff Girls that's supposed to come out? So it's like, okay, if you take all that into account, plus the disarray that Cartoon Network is in as a brand right now, the mess that it is, it's like, how do you get better from here? And that's the sad reality of where we are right now. And again, I really don't know where or how or who's going to fix all this, because Cartoon Network, they've really hurt their brand image over the past decade, and it's really a shame. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about Cartoon Network's brand image and how they've really destroyed it over the past decade? If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.